Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. We're doing a bit of a game discussion today. It's also kind of like a PSA, a public service announcement, as you can see from the title, about thinking for yourself. This is definitely in regards to video games, and it's also directly connected to how-tos and guides as they exist out on the internet. Now, guides and how-tos are fantastic. You can learn a lot of things in a lot of different areas of life, but we're going to focus on video games today. And we're going to focus on those how-tos and those guides. You know, the hero guides, for example, from Overwatch, the guide I did for like how-to sensitivity and strafing, any other guide out there that might tell you how to set up a mouse and keyboard setup, how to tweak your sensitivity in your DPI or your controller DPS, how to use, you know, certain controller settings or sensitivities in different video games, things of that nature. We're not so much talking about walkthroughs and things that are like, this is how you get this item, because obviously those are straight by the book and to the T. But when it comes to these how-tos, and I'm gonna reference a couple of my videos specifically because it's come blatantly aware to me after reading the comments on those videos, which I've ended up doing very well, that there's a huge portion of you out there who look at these things as sort of the concrete rule. And you're not really going about absorbing that information in the way that I think you should in order to get the most use out of it. So what do I actually mean by this, Tony? What are you trying to get at? Well, a guide should be just that. A how-to should be just that. It's something that contains a video, a document, you know, a written word that contains factual elements, but at the end of the day is sort of a school of thought in which you should adapt those factual elements and make sure that you use them in the way that best suits your individual playstyle and personality. It's not about just copying it word for word. So example, the how-to sensitivity and strafing video I did for Overwatch, a lot of people sent me messages or replied in the comments, you know, I used your exact sensitivity settings, but I was doing better with my other sensitivity settings, what's the deal? Well, the chances are that you were already doing just fine with the current sensitivity settings that you had, but maybe you just need to adapt your skills in another area. So you went on the internet thinking it was something wrong with your sensitivity, or maybe you stumbled upon the video and you thought that I had the written word. Now, I never said that in that video, but that's the way that a lot of people look at guides and how-tos like that. That's not the way you should do that. If you're somebody who is like that out there, maybe you're a younger person who's new to video games, maybe you're an older person who's new to video games, maybe you're someone who's new to a specific genre or a specific game, who feels that if this person's making guides, well then obviously, you know, I need to copy what they're doing 100%. That's not true. I might have a different controller setup than you, I might have a different mouse and keyboard setup than you, and I am a completely different person from you. I may have been playing games in a different manner than you for the last 10 years. I may have been playing games longer than you with the mouse and keyboard. My experience is going to differ from yours, so you can't take it word for word. Now, the more important element that people should have got out of that guide was that school of thought that I sort of put down on the table. I said, here's the best way to set up your sensitivity settings. You know, a generic rule of thumb for mouse and keyboard and controller users is you want maximum precision and accuracy while also maintaining the maximum amount of mobility. So you have to find a balance between the two. And that's what I wanted people to focus on. That's what I wanted them to extract from that guide. Maybe use my numbers as a guideline, as a baseline, but then modify it to find that sweet spot. You know, that maximum mobility combined with maximum precision and accuracy. And if you're okay with sacrificing one for the other, that's something you could do as well. But that's the way that I want to see people look at these guides. Like I said, a lot of people, especially coming into Overwatch, it's their first first-person shooter, their first FPS, is the way I should have said that. You know, they're going to think that, oh, this guy's been playing FPS for 10 years, you know, obviously he knows exactly what he's talking about. And maybe I do, you know, and again, that's where the school of thought comes into play, what I'm trying to explain to you with that. But it's not just about following the numbers to a T. It's not about copying my setup to the T. That's not going to get you the results that you want. And the same can be said for hero guides. You know, there's factual elements in my Junkrat guide, in my Reinhardt guide, you know, telling you, oh, you know, Junkrat's tire can be used in these environments, and this person can block it, or that person can't block it, and so on and so forth. But you still have to take any of the information in those guides, any of the information in a how-to, again, as a school of thought. Adapt it to your own situation and meld in your personal train of thought with the information that you gathered from that video. This is something that you can pretty much apply to everything in life. You know, the internet is a wonderful ocean of information, and you can learn how to do pretty much anything under the sun on the internet. And if you have the mindset and the capabilities and the competence, you can go in and execute it in real life. And sometimes You know, you'll have some flaws when you start, but as you improve, again, as you adapt the information that you have absorbed from the internet to your own personal experiences, that's where you're going to find the sweet spot. That's where you're going to be able to personally improve. That information is going to become part of your own skill set. You're not even going to remember that you learned it from some guy named Tony Mo, and next thing you know, you're helping your friends. If you forever just copy down things word for word in guides and tutorials, you'll never build that personal skill set, that personal mindset to make that information, that knowledge your own. And I'm afraid that too many people are doing the former, and I want to see people adapting to the latter. You know, it's very important that you take that information, you allow it to educate yourself, to improve yourself in that area, so then you can pass those skills onward. You know, that information, as I said, no longer is something you just read on the internet. It's knowledge and experience that you now have inside of you and that you can move forward with. That's really important when it comes to video games, and I think it's also massively important to fully experience what video games have to offer. You know, it's not just about exploring the worlds within the video games, it's about exploring, testing, manipulating, and understanding the mechanics that are offered within a video game. That's a huge part of the experience, and if you just follow someone else's guide, one for one, 24/7, you'll never be as good as you possibly could be, because as I said, all of these different environments, you know, we can talk about first-person shooters, mouse and keyboard, we can talk about a game like MX Simulator, and setting up your stability and your sensitivity for racing in that game. All of it needs to have that personal tweak to it, because you are a different person than me, than the next person, than your friend, than the guy 3 houses down who's stealing your Wi-Fi to play Overwatch. We're all completely different. We have our own little nuances. We hold our mouse differently. We have different sized mouse pads. We're more comfortable with different mouse movements, and the same can be said for just about anything else in life. Adding that personal touch is so incredibly important, and I don't want people to let that slip away or to never recognize how important that is. So this is very much, I think, for a lot of you guys out there who do look at guides as sort of that written word. Listen to what I'm saying here. You're going to get more out of these guides and how-tos if you adapt it to your personal experience. That's pretty much this whole discussion in a nutshell. Hopefully it did not become too convoluted. Hopefully you understand exactly what I'm saying if you are one of those people out there. And I think a lot of you out there who do follow guides, who do follow how-tos, who recognize how important it is to implement it into your own experience, your own skill set, can preach for this without a doubt. The obvious benefits of not just copying things one for one. And I'll close out with a really great example. I started playing MX Simulator about a week and a half ago now. A game that is incredibly difficult. Just getting your stability and your suspension settings for your motorcycle is really complex. So, of course, the first thing I knew I was going to do was, I'm going to go find someone else's setup on the internet. I'm going to find 2 or 3 setups, in fact, and I'm going to test out each one of them. And then I'm going to start to mess with the sliders and find my own sweet spot. So, first setup I start off with, okay, I'm still struggling here. This isn't obviously where I'm going to need my stuff to be. So I find another player. I kind of meld his settings with the previous settings that I had. I start writing, okay, this is getting better. There's still some things I can sort out. And at that point, just from looking at these different setups and, getting an idea of what each of the sliders meant, I was now able to look at these different settings. The sensitivity settings, and the DPI setting for my mouse and keyboard, we're talking about theories here, were no longer like these crazy foreign languages. I now understood what moving that slider this way would do, and what happens if I move this slider to the left or I increase it by 10%. I now understood what all of those sliders did, so I could go in and adapt where I needed to. That's the same situation you're going to find yourself in, again, with just about anything in life. Apply it to video games, apply it to building a freaking lawnmower, I don't care. It works just about everywhere. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that this benefited some of you out there somewhere. If you know someone like that in your life, spread this video on to them or help them understand how important it is to get that personal experience, and adapt the knowledge that they gain off guides, off tutorials into their own way of executing. I'll see you in the next one.